I'm Jackman Altomare, and I wrote a cookbook, and it's called Not Just a Recipe. And how this started is that in 2003, I had my mother had died, my grandmother was gone, both sides, and I was left with all of these recipes in a box that I had, huge box, and over 300, 400 of them. And I just kept looking at them and didn't want them in a closet and didn't want to put them away and didn't want to throw them away. So I called a newspaper in town that had just started, a daily newspaper, and he was only 6 months old. And I offered a recipe a week, and he grabbed it, of course, for nothing. I didn't want to charge him. I just wanted to see if the recipes could be used and put out there. And I worked very hard to find the best and choose the best and recipes that I knew were good. So I did that from 2003 to 2007, and it became very, very popular. In the end of 2007, it was picked up by a newspaper publisher that had 5 daily newspapers. And so they actually asked me to write a food column for all 5 of their papers. And I did that until 2014. And I was very surprised. I've never written a column or done anything like that. I'm actually a nurse for 44 years, and I was working full-time as a nurse, and just fell into this. But the more I wrote, the better I became. And the one thing that I did do that I think made it successful is that I just didn't put in a recipe. I put anything I could find out about that recipe, I would put in there. Where it came from, how it was developed, who found it, who developed it, where, when, and how. So a lot of readers would email me and tell me how much they loved that fact about it. It was not just a recipe, it was more than just a recipe. Usually, if it was, for instance, a blueberry pie recipe that I put in there, then I would talk about years ago when my father and mother would go blueberry picking. Those were the days when you didn't go and buy blueberries in a store, you'd go and pick them on a hill. So High on a Hill Picking Blueberries is in my book, and there's 3 blueberry recipes that go to it, but the story tells of how my brothers and sisters and parents and grandparents would all spend a whole day from morning till dark picking blueberries on a hill in Fitchburg. Mm-hmm. And all these kind of things were interesting to people. I also was very lucky and fortunate to be able to travel, and I traveled to many countries, Uruguay, Buenos Aires, Alaska, Germany, Austria, Bolivia, and fascinating countries. And because I was writing my column, I brought back traditional recipes from each country I went to. And that actually became a chapter in my book because they were very popular. Some of those travel logs that I wrote would go for 2 columns, and 2 weekly columns back to back. And they loved the traditional recipes. I just did Oktoberfest in Douglas, and they asked me to do that specifically because I had a recipe in here from Munich, Bavaria section in Munich, a beer coffee cake that's very popular over there. And they wanted to see my pictures of Munich. Would I talk about my pictures, which is what I did for Oktoberfest. And that again is in the book in the travel section. So this all developed over 10 years of writing those newspaper columns. And the one part of it that is very important is that I learned more from the readers than I think I taught them. They emailed me, sent me things, gave me tips. I can remember one woman specifically, she emailed me that she loved my recipes, and that's what got her involved with reading my columns. She said every single week for like 2 or 3 years, she said. But she said, Pat, I have to speak up. She said, I'm an English teacher. And she said, I hope you don't mind my constructive criticism. You need to know when to use then and then. She says, you mix them up, T-H-E-N and T-H-A-N, and she said, I just thought I'd let you know. So I wrote her back. I was so happy about her telling me that, because I went and really educated myself more to use then and then correctly. So it's funny, the letters that I would get from people, and I really did learn so much from my readers, and that's how it all started. They're the ones that had me actually begging me to write a book, because they said they were tired of clipping out newspaper recipes, and they said they were losing them. And I'm talking now 15, 25 people that kept writing me, Pat, please, can you put them all in one place, or put them in a packet or a book or something like that. They suggested that. It took 5 years for me to think about it seriously, and when I retired from nursing, then I started it, and it came out in April of 2016, and I'm very happy with it, and I hope that it brings people pleasure.